Hi, I'm Rick Jones from Maverick Target Systems. We're going to show you an instructional video today, show you how to install one of our target systems. The one that we're going to show you is the one in Ponca City, Oklahoma. We just finished installing that one, and this will be a good one for you all to see how it works. The foundation on these things is about 3 inches thick, 3 foot wide, with an 8-inch wall in the front. All you need is 8 inches. The bases are pretty short. And 8 inches is the same size as a railroad tie. A railroad tie you can put in front of it to catch the bullets so they don't bounce back at you. And you can make it as long as you want, and we'll space the targets out accordingly, however you want them. In this case, we're going to put them 8 feet apart. In this case, we have 100 feet to work with, and they wanted their target bases 8 feet apart. Normally, we go 4 to 6 feet, but they wanted 8 feet, so we can do that, no problem. So we're going to measure everything out and get ready to drill holes for our bases. In this case, we have a setup plate that I've made for this purpose. It's the same jig that's used for drilling the bases. You can use a base in place of this to mark your holes. Primarily, you got to make sure that everything is straight and square. In the first hole we drill, there's 4 anchor bolts holds each base down. The first hole we drill is going to be a 1/4 inch hole. We do that because we want to make sure that we get the hole right where we want it. We'll come back and chase the 1/4 inch hole with a 3/8 masonry bit. You have to have a hammer drill to do this. Now we're putting anchors in here. These are standard anchors that everybody uses in masonry. Just get the anchors in there, and then you can set the base down. Oh yeah, you have to put 2 washers underneath each, on top of each anchor, so the base will sit on those washers. The bases have carriage bolts that hold the bearings in, and if you look underneath one of the bases, you can see that the heads of 2 carriage bolts are button heads. If you bolt the bases down without washers on the anchors, then the bases will have a tendency to rock and it won't be all level. We need to make sure that they sit squarely on those washers, thereby compensating for the fact that those button heads on the carriage bolts are under there. So it just raises the base up just a little bit. And then we put the washers and nuts on there and tighten everything up. The control rod is 1-inch conduit. You insert the splice in each end of the conduit. The splice has a shoulder, so it can only go so far, and it splits up the difference. Now I've made a crimper that I use for that. You don't have to use that. You can use a dull punch or a dull chisel and do the same thing. I just do it this way because it's quicker. Squeeze it down really good. Conduit comes in 10-foot sections. You just put as many of them together as you need for the space that you want to work with. Now that we have the control arm spliced together, we're going to connect it to the bases using our pivot plates. The pivot plates attached to each base with a 1/2-13 bolt and a lock nut. As you can see, the bolt comes down through the top and the lock nut fits inside there. And there's enough room to get a wrench in there on a lock nut. You just snug her up. Then you use your U-bolts to connect your control rod to each pivot plate. Once you've done that on the first one end or the other, then you nail that base to one side using a cord so that it keeps it up against its own stop. All the bases are going to be just like that. You don't have to tie them all, but you got to make sure they're all against that one stop. So when they all turn, they'll all hit their stop, their individual stops at the same time. That makes the linkage last a long time. Keeps the wear down and increases its longevity. Once you get this done, you back off that 1/2-13 bolt half a turn once everything's done, so that it pivots smoothly. U-bolts come up from the bottom, and you put the lock nuts on top of that from the top. They're 3/8-16, and that solidly connects all the different components into one complete unit. So nothing's loose, nothing rattles, and everything is solid and smooth. There's a splice that goes into one end of that drive rod that interconnects it to the air cylinder. You have to put that in and crimp it the same way you did the splices. And then you can attach your air cylinder to that. Pretty simple. Just run the bolt in there and tighten her up. And the solenoid and everything that's necessary to make that operate is all attached to a plate with a cover on it, protected from the weather and from bullets. You have to set that in place and drill it and put your anchor bolts in there. Caution, you have to make sure that your air cylinder piston is in the right position to match what you've done on your bases. Like, for example, if everything's to the right, then your cylinder has to be extended to the right. In this case, because everything's on that side of the target system. And by the way, you can put this air cylinder in on the other end of the target system if you want. We put it on the right end as you're looking downrange. Usually we put it on the left end, but their configuration where they want their tower and their receiver, we put it on the right end. Here's a good view of the air cylinder and the air hoses. There's a good view of all the targets with the drive rod attached. Everything's clean and straight. The air supply has to be connected to the air cylinder through the solenoid. We have to have ditches to run the air supply from the air compressor to downrange where we're using it. Also, we have to know where we're going to put our receiver. We have to have electrical line running from our receiver to our solenoid. So we can switch the air from one side to the other and make the thing work. In this case, we put everything in the same ditch. Normally, that's the end user's responsibility to put everything in the ground. We're going to use 2 air lines instead of just 1, because if we have a ditch in the ground, we might as well put 2 in there, because PVC is cheap. And if one gets water in it or breaks or something, we'll always have that other one. We can just switch over to the other one and not have to dig another ditch. In this case, we had to go a long ways. The compressor in this case was way back off somewhere else. Make sure that you follow the directions on the PVC cement and get your air lines put together good. And let them set for an hour or 2 before you put air to them, because you do not want them to leak. There's only one air line that goes to the solenoid. It's real simple. Just hook one air line to one place on the solenoid. The other air line, like I said, is for backup. There's a flexible air line that goes from the PVC to the solenoid. Close the other air line off with a quick disconnect so it won't leak. This is your remote. It's pretty simple. You got a black wire and a white wire. One goes to each side of the solenoid. The green wire is a common. It goes to both sides of the solenoid. You can see I'm showing how to put the connectors on the ends. When we ship these things, if we have a detailed information as to how long your cords need to be, we can have these ends already on there and everything well marked so you know where to put them. But in this case, we're just explaining it. We're going to put the green wire on both coils. That's the common wire. So one green wire, you can see how it fits on there, just like that. It doesn't matter which side of the coil you go on. There's 3 connectors on each coil. The bottom connector is not used, just the 2 top ones. Then you put black on one side and white on the other. Now both coils will be hooked up. It's as simple as that. The coils control the air through the solenoid to either end of the cylinder, which makes the targets turn. The satellite dish, we used to make our own dish, but satellite dishes are already made, so we just use them. Connects to the receiver, the transmitter box, connects to the receiver box, which has latching relays and timers and things like that in there, power supply. That just plugs into 110 volts, period. The wires that go from the solenoid to the receiver box connect to the receiver box with a cannon plug. So you can't get that wrong, or you can just plug the plug in the bottom. The target frames are made out of cold roll steel, which is tougher than most steels. Target frames just slide into the bases. Then there's a 1/4-20 screw that you insert and tighten, which keeps the target frames rigid in the bases. Very simple. You may have noticed that Our bases are all hot dip galvanized. Hot dip galvanized is good stuff for this application. It won't chip off when it gets shot. Now the timer transmitter is a Pocket Pro 2 timer in this case. They're a good little timer, they're reliable, and they're tough. And what I did was I just installed the transmitter within that box. And you operate it just the way you normally operate a timer. Instead of the horn, the target's turn. So you can set the timer for 2 seconds. You can go on Comstock time, and they'll face and edge again after 2 seconds. You set it for however long you want to do it, up to 199 seconds. That little transmitter timer, if it's within 100 yards of that dish, it'll operate the targets. You can hang it on your belt, run and go, night fire, do whatever you want. Change the course of fire. You're in charge. You don't have to have anybody in the tower. Pretty handy. And how the system works, and how to install it, how to operate everything. I hope you understand what we would try to accomplish here. We try to make something simple and reliable, low maintenance. If you have any questions, you can call us at 405-348-2187. I'll be happy to answer anybody's questions anytime. All we want to do is just the best that we can every time we do one. And you can visit our website at www.mavericktargets.com on the internet. Thanks for your interest. God bless you, and have a good day.